I'm not interested in discussing the matter as if just, whatever these words are. But as a umzali, that's a person in the world. Ndingumzali, ndingusis apha endlini. Kwenzeka ntoni? Thena ubhude nje, thena kunje apha. Why ikhanseleni so? Why is this thing like this? So language gives you something to order and explain. And what I think is important is what Udok said. It's the comparative power of using multiple languages. That's what I want Black students to have, the comparative power. So nation building and race, what can we do? Again, English is a problem because I don't know why people want us to say, oh no, Myanmar guys, they were oppressed. They were oppressed, what can we do? So it's 18, like, they were oppressed. So how can we fix it if we can't talk about it? I don't think we can go back into those things. The biggest nation building questions for Black people is, how are we going to solve the problem of Harare in South Africa and solve it in a way that's humanizing to all Black people? How are we going to solve the problem of Kayalicha in Camps Bay and do it in a way that humanizes those Black people there? How are we going to solve those problems? That's the problem of nation building, is the building between Black people. That's the real challenge of Africa. A lot of us oppressor guys, what can we do? History happened, they did it.
I think Prof is touched on a number of things. And I'm saying, and I want to agree with her, to say, I think the issue among students of nation building, individualism versus collectivism. I, as I said, I remember going into that girls' school in Durban and having to ensure that I switch from isiXhosa in primary into isiZulu, and making sure, because if you fail the language, you are going to fail, And I remember being in that class where some of this tribal issue came in when the Zulu-speaking students would say, hey, we are going to see how these Xhosas are going to. And then I remember, some of our students as Xhosas, we were saying, we are going to fix them, because when reports come, the first 10 will be Xhosas and the last 10 will be Zulus. In nation building, I think it's Africa's time. I think it's Africa's time. I think it's students' time, African students, to come together and see and talk together and reason together and be that collective and stop being individuals in your own door and this thing of status. This thing of status. Umtakabani, and I think it's another topic, but I think we have a mandate as Africans. And the first thing, the mandate that we have, is to make sure that we support our languages. There is nothing wrong with translation. I always say there's nothing wrong. If you say coffee is not right, and if you say juice is not right, too much of anything is not right. And I'm a believer, it is always how you do it. You can find somebody who's got very good ideas, but doesn't know how to put them in. And so people won't listen. And a person with bad ideas coming in and people really, moving on. So to me, it is how we do things. Because let me give you an example. Once someone was saying, hey, when I'm awudlali netball lento utyebe kangaka, is saying to me uba wena mem awudlali netball lento utyebe kangaka. And people were like, they're waiting for me, how am I going to answer? And then I said to that person, I'm just blessed with abundance of experience. And I think I took them in that English manner to another corner where they didn't think. When I'm saying, well, as a mother and as a grandmother, I'm blessed with abundance of experience. And they were like, who? So now she sees how rude she was when she said that and says, oh, Koloma, Mamso, and all that. You see what the importance of language and how we use this language. There's nothing wrong with translation. It's always how you translate it, what is the intention. Because some of the students who have spoken to me, they tell me, you know, sometimes, ma'am, I look and I say, oh, what inflation yini? What inflation? Kambe ma'am, yini inflation? But they can remember it in their own language. But now, ngoba fanele ngifake isentence, ma'am. Isentence, hawe ma, izothi inflation konje yini? Uyabona? And this is the power of language. So we are not translating for the sake of translating. We are translating so that we don't tell that mama to pick up the remnants of the bosses. I hope you understand when I'm saying that. If I'm in a situation where there's Makulu in there and Makulu is saying, mama, you know, and I have to explain kula mama uba kuthiwani athi hayi well done he broke up ikanyani uyabo. So they relate. That is how they're relating. And we're busy eating, and some people are playing music. Athi hayi ngani yami akuphindi udlale uyabona lo cassette yakho uyabo. So it's natural. While somebody down there is thinking that a cassette is thinking that is speaking about custard because they just finished a jelly and custard. So that is the beauty of translation. And because when you are doing something you like and you have a passion for, you're not just doing it for the sake of money. And I like it, but what you were saying. But I always say the voice of the students will come into that one. I am involved in teaching isiXhosa into the internationals. I go and have sessions. You know, so there are short courses available at NMU within those departments where you can actually attend. So at the moment at NMU, it's optional. But however, if I always say, it is yours as students that you discuss this, because if you want to make it compulsory, you know, it's about you making through your structures. You know, that's the beauty of the structures in which you are as students, having to say some of those things. Whether you make isiXhosa really, but you know, people, all students have the opportunity to do optional classes if they want to know more about isiXhosa currently at MMU. It's not enforced at MMU. And I'm saying if it will depend on you whether you want it or not. And through your structures you can raise that, I think. Thank you so much.
So we're just going to have another second round of questions.
Greetings to you all. Can I speak also?
Yeah.
Yeah, I come from England and I studied in Zanzibar. So now, touching back to what he said, what he said also, like how is translating economics, like how's translating things to closer, whatnot and whatnot, related to economics. And also, what is being, it's not about translating like things to our language. What is being done about making students from, not about uzawafundisa nge-computer, uzawafundisa and whatnot and whatnot, but kwenziwa ntoni bafilishe ngathi kusekhayeni apha nabo. What is being done about that besides teaching them the language and all that? Because I remember this one time an encounter with, like, I think it was first year. So, like, I had an encounter with a lecturer, and I had to explain something, but I can't explain it. Like, I can't explain it in the right English because I'm used to my teacher in high school, and so that I am not, like, I have lost knowledge about this thing, but it's just that I am not really welcomed in this place, and like, we're not given a platform of being welcomed as Usiamjana was saying, as Ukambi, Lishewa, Sebiza. Not about, it's about Ustichangi computer, but what has been done about it, and how also there's translating things to closer related to economics and what and that. Like, I just feel like, personally, just feel like we as the institution, we lack land, and unfortunately, but we lack, but ikona lando ingekhoyo that needs to implementwe ifakwe, because I remember, like, it just ikhona amalando kwenziwa ntoni ngayo, andiyazi uba ndizawuthi ntoni, but kwenziwa ntoni ngaloo nto.
Sibulela kakhulu kumzingalwazi ugqirha. Sicela ukubulela kulo mphakathi uberefa ukuba asiphe ithuba sikwazi ukuba lapha. Eneneni kuze umzingalwazi ezokusiqhubela asiphe sihle kwazana ugqirha ozokwazi ukuba asixelenge sibone ukuba kuphi kufuneka kulungiswe kanjani. With those few words, I want to begin by acknowledging what my sister just said. I'm also privileged to be an academic advisor. So I would hear lectures. One of the things that the lecturers, for example, are struggling with, besides students having to request now and then for extensions, especially during this time of the learning, is the issue of non-attendance or poor attendance. And sometimes when students have attended, they are not participating. And what I picked up is that it has to do also with this issue of language barrier. Like my brother was saying, when you miss one word and suddenly your tongue starts to twist, you don't know what's happening. The class starts to laugh. So that's why I want to concur with Dr. Jubel in saying it begins with us as students. It's good, for an example, to have political parties and students belonging in those platforms of activism. Not only political parties, because there you are able, even in platforms like this that Refa is organized, to be conscientized, to respect yourself, to respect your language, and then you respect each other. To know that, as our parents have taught us and have carried it to say, simply because you can speak English, it does not mean they're educated. And now we will not go to learn, so we know that because many of us can speak serious English. But when it comes to answering in a test, it's a different story. At the point I am in now academically, I have seen when doing research how it helps to use your language. And thanks to the efforts of Dr. Jubele, for an example, and Unzingalwazi, who are advancing that to say, let our language not just find a space, they must take a space that is their own. Because if, for example, you're teaching colloquies and want to speak about hunger in the Eastern Cape, let me make it practical for you. I come from Ujulubuku. Now, Ujulubuku, for your own context, is next to Mkhokezweni, so that at least you know I'm locating it, where Nelson Mandela was born. So was grew up. So there, when we speak about hunger, you will hear the elders saying, Ikati leziko. Now, eziko, you know what occurs. I'm speaking economics now, in social terms. When it is, because what we offered here was applied economics when we are talking about IPAR. That's applied economics, let alone econometrics. When we are told about you begin as a course young man, like myself, to think and say, one, Iziko is a place where fire burns. Iziko is not only a place where fire burns, it's where the pots and you cook your meal. So when a cat is sitting there in that fireplace, it means that there's no cooking. Therefore, it means there's nothing to cook. In simple terms, there's no food. Altogether, people are hungry in that way. So I'm able to put that practically down in my own studies, in my own research, when I write those paragraphs. And I say, if I can't remember in economic term, at least I'm able to explain that in English, starting from a closer point of view.
Yes.
Because Xhosa is not only a language, there's a context there, there's a culture there, there's an event, there's an experience. So that's why it matters, at least for us as students, to appreciate the effort that is being done, but also to find our own place in saying, we need to start somewhere. Afrikaans is where it is now because they started somewhere. English is where it is now because they started somewhere. So we can begin, for an example, by translating. Because by the time, for an example, we are not translating, it may take you 20 years to finish this degree. Trying to begin by not translating. So at least by translating, we can take you to 3 years and finish your degree. You can go and work. And begin now, for an example, even as a researcher, if you want to take it there. Because you can't be a researcher until you are able to finish your 3 years undergrad. And then you can begin to pass your master's, for an example, if you are going to academic route. And you go to a PhD. And at least now you can challenge. Because to stop now, I have come to learn and be taught, and I see this to be a fact. That the world is ruled by dead men's philosophies, and the living are mere proponents of those dead men's philosophies. So if we have a problem with Adam Smith, we are still alive. Let's take it upon ourselves and have our own Andile Mbangata. And thank you so much.